Good morning. Glad you're all here this morning, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to meet with you all and share some reflections with you. When Donna Lancaster invited me to speak here, I was happy to accept, but I was also a little concerned about what I might best have to share with you and what might benefit you if I shared from my life experience to yours. You see, I don't think it's too unlikely to recognize that we probably are coming from rather different spiritual traditions. Ordinarily on Sunday morning at this time, I'd be at St. James Episcopal Church. I've been a member there for about 15 years. And I know it's very clear to me from what's happened here this morning, there are great similarities between the Episcopal tradition, which goes back to the Anglican Church of the English Renaissance, and the unity belief system that goes back, I think, about 130 years, and is embodied in the 5 principles, which came from the work of the Fillmores, I think, about 130 years ago. There are very great, important similarities, but there are also certainly differences. And today I want to certainly focus on similarities as opposed to differences, as we should with everything in our lives. I told Donna that I wanted to be able to, and I want you to forgive me for an overused expression, to speak my truth while hopefully being of some value to you and your truth. So, a thought struck me. There's a statement that I encounter every weekend at St. James, and I suspect that this is going to resonate with you, particularly based on what I understand of unity. Donna gave me some documents to read, and she also shared with me about your beliefs and your traditions. Every weekend service at St. James, the priest begins our time together by saying, "Whoever you are and wherever you find yourself on your journey of faith, you are welcome here." So wherever you find yourself on your journey, I think we're all on journeys, don't you agree? The whole of humanity is on journeys, from one place to another, from one time to another, from one state of being, all journeys. And we share those journeys in many significant ways, but each of us is also separate and unique in our journey. I read Ellen Davenport's book, The 5 Principles, and it struck me that she, in expressing those core unity tenets, that she recognizes and values the journey that each of us experiences and that humanity as a whole shares and experiences throughout history and into the future. Now, I believe, whether or not Socrates actually ever said it or not, that there's some truth to the saying, the unexamined life is not worth living. So I like us to spend a little time together examining, at least to some degree, what our life journeys are. And I'm going to offer you some examples from my own life journey, and I'd invite you to reflect on your own. Because, I think the fact that life is and can be seen as a journey is probably one of the most shared elements of our common human history and experience. So let me remind you, that statement I quoted said, "Wherever you find yourself on your journey of faith." So I wonder, is it appropriate to say journey of faith for all of us? Does that somehow exclude some of us who might not see ourselves in our experience in traditional religious terms? I really honestly don't know to what extent in unity you talk about the issue of faith. But I don't think it's exclusive, because what is faith? I don't think it's exclusively holding some sort of belief in a conventional concept of a higher being. One possible definition of faith was given by the author of the letter to the Hebrews in the Bible, who wrote, "Faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not yet see." So maybe faith reflects what we hope for in life, what we expect out of life but don't yet fully experience. Seems to me that the 5 principles of unity are tenets of a kind of faith, just as are the assertions that Episcopalians make in the Nicene Creed at every service. But aren't there also almost infinite other objects and principles and belief systems and expressions and assumptions of faith that are believed and held very strongly outside formal conventional religion? People have faith in concepts like progress and decline and capitalism and socialism and nationalism and the traditional family unit, science, the human intellect, materialism, pleasure principle, even things like anarchism, nihilism. All those things become types of faith that guide and shape people's journeys, perhaps even more powerfully on a day-to-day basis than regular ritual religious doctrine. You know, a person who believes that really we're all completely on our own and that the whole world is against each other and that you can only make it on your own is on a kind of journey of faith. Just like on the opposite end, the person who believes that there really is an old man upstairs who is overseeing everything you do and who will find you a parking space in a very busy parking lot on the busiest day if you only ask and believe. I mean, they're both on types of faith journeys, just like all of us are, and everybody in between. So we hope that we all are at least on a faith journey that encourages and allows us to welcome everyone else wherever they are on their journey. So let's reflect on at least a few aspects of the journey. First, what is the purpose of the journey? Which probably has something to do with where you're headed and why are you trying to go there? I know that sometimes it may be really the best thing to just get up and take a walk and go nowhere in particular, to just jump in your car and drive. I mean, we all need to take a break, to relax, to refresh, to reboot. But for the main of your life, where are you going? The surest way not to end up anywhere in particular, or worse, to get truly lost and have no idea where you are, is to have no destination or at least purpose in mind to your journey. And it certainly seems like, from what I've experienced today, that you all seek after a common purpose in terms of your journey. But I tell you, as part of my journey, I'm a college dean, and every day I encounter way too many students who don't have any idea why they're doing what they're doing in school. They might tell you to get a job, but I don't think they even really have a concept of what that means. College, for many people in our culture, is just seen as a rite of passage. But for what? To where? Why? I rarely experience students who really have a strong, confident need that they want to get a useful education or they want to learn how to be better equipped to continue to fulfill their life journey, or even just to purposefully explore possibilities. I just got back from an educational conference, national conference in Denver, and it affirmed that research shows that those students who have targeted a destination, a goal, they have a purpose that they have thoughtfully chosen, even if they end up modifying it or completely changing it over time, they are most likely to stay the course, so to speak, and reap the benefits of all of that time, energy, and honestly, money. Now, I think that's probably true for a much wider range of life experiences than just college. So, we're talking about choice. And we all know that choices we make for our life journey have at least as much effect, if not more, than the choices you make in terms of transportation or timing or route, in terms of a trip you might take from one place to another. But before we begin to be too harsh about our own choices or other people's choices, we have to be honest about the world that we live in. In our larger world, we share a human space with so many people that are not empowered, or certainly don't feel empowered, to make effective choices about the purpose and destination of their own life journey. They're constantly faced with the demands of surviving the journey itself. In education, we talk a lot about, maybe you've heard about it, maybe you haven't, Maslow's hierarchy, which says the most basic human needs are the first step of any journey. If I'm stuck at that level, if I'm, in our modern terms, if I'm living paycheck to paycheck, I'm not going to move beyond that. That will be the whole focus of my life. I hope that's not the case for any of us, but I know we experience all kinds of people that is the case. They need help. They need more than for us to feel compassion for them. They need help if we want them to join us and move on to the higher aspirations of life. So, let me ask you, what is the purpose, the goal, the destination of your journey? And I'm not just asking rhetorically. I really want you to take a moment, maybe close your eyes, think about it. What is the purpose or the destination of your journey? Maybe it's a cluster of things. Maybe it's the whole business of the journey itself to grow and be transformed through it. But what is your journey? So just take a moment and think about that. Now, if we had more time, I'd have you turn and share your thoughts with each other. I know this isn't probably the best setting to do that, but I would encourage you to take time to get together with people you live with people you know very well, or people you don't know that well in this gathering, to listen, share, care, and encourage. I don't think our life affords us nearly enough opportunities to, some people would say, share our story, but it's very important. I mean, it's very, very easy for us to feel disconnected, alone, and in many cases, people end up feeling helpless because they feel isolated. So I think you do this from looking at your events and announcements, but take time to really share with each other and listen to each other. So, I've told you about one part of my journey, which is higher education. I want to tell you about another part of my journey. And it started when this is probably the part of my journey I recognize the youngest. When I was 7 or 8, my parents took me downtown to see the great old American musical, The Music Man. It was being performed in a national tour at the Forum. Probably most of you are not old enough to remember the Forum. It was like Century 2, but it was an old-style theater, and it stood where the parking lot for Century 2 now stands. That was my first experience of live theater, and it was magic. And I knew, as much as I think you can when you're 7 or 8 years old, that that's what I wanted to do. That's where I wanted my journey to be. I never wanted to be famous. And it's weird if somebody recognizes you, I think. Sometimes people will say to me, "Oh, you're that theater." Well, no, I do stuff there. But what I wanted to do was I wanted to be part of this thing that brought this magic and joy, that prompted laughter and tears, that showed all the colors of life, and that would entertain your imagination, let you let your emotions be expressed in a very safe environment, and hopefully broaden the way you saw your own life and other people's lives. So that's a big piece of my journey, and it has been for almost 60 years. I mean, I know theater or television or film or whatever does not necessarily, or most of the time, honestly, doesn't really do what it's capable of. But it is capable of wonderful things, of expressing humanity in such a beautiful way. And I think that's a good thing if we have something in our life that helps us express who we are and helps us understand who others are. So, I've been talking about art and my life in art, and we all experience art in our everyday life more than we know. But I know it probably maybe isn't that much of yours. I mean, I'm sure you perhaps watch television. I'm sure you all only watch PBS. Or you go see a movie if it's really worthwhile. But that may be not that important to your journey. But what is? I mean, what is your vocation? What is your work? I hope it's important to you. I hear so many people talk about their employment, which consumes so much of our lives, and which honestly the sustaining of our lives is so dependent on, not as a part of their journey, but as like a major obstacle to their journey being what it might be. So I hope it's not the case. But of course, once again, looking compassionately at ourselves and our world, the world isn't set up generally to encourage us in our journeys. So I learned a lot from reading the work of a Carmelite brother in Paris in the 17th century, who was named Brother Lawrence. For a time that he was speaking about, his major occupation was peeling potatoes, which that, in terms of Maslow's hierarchy, that doesn't sound very self-actualizing. But in a conversation he had with another cleric, and it's recorded in Practicing the Presence, he said that even the most menial task can bring us peace and fulfillment when it's practiced in the context of confidence in a greater presence, hoped for, but not yet fully seen. So I've mentioned obstacles, so let me just deal quickly with one obstacle for me in my journey. Last weekend, I went to see Chorus Line at Music Theater, and that's a very emotional experience for me. In 1975, when that play first came out, I was an actor, singer, dancer. I was working at Music Theater. I had friends in the First National Company of Chorus Line, so while I was in school at Ohio State during the year, I was invited into that experience and saw that show about 10 times from right in the show, not really seeing it at a distance. So I sang and danced and acted. Well, then you jump about 20 years later, and I was diagnosed with diabetes. And the major way that diabetes has expressed itself in my life is through my legs. So I ended up being a double amputee. Kind of an obstacle to being an actor, singer, dancer. So what do? I mean, we all experience obstacles. Now, jumping back to that early experience as a child, and I wonder if you can relate to this. There's probably things that you vividly remember as a child that still really inform what's going on in your life journey. So, and I think I remember this even from first experiencing it. In The Music Man, I don't know if you know the story of The Music Man, it's on television all the time. In The Music Man, it's about a con man who comes to a small Iowa town and he's selling a band. He's going to start a boys' band. He's not even a musician, but he's going to sell this band. And so he's a con man, but as he stays on, he gets involved with these people and he grows to love them and care about what their hopes and dreams and journeys are. And towards the end of the story, when he's found out, he's confronted by this little boy who's one of his favorite band members. And the little boy demands that he tell him the truth. And it's amazing to me how emotional this always makes me. And his response is, "I always think there's a band, kid." And when the story ends, there is a band. I always think there's a band. So as I went through my theater journey, I was involved with, I think, 4 productions of The Music Man. I saw it countless times. I always think there's a band. And what that says to me is that good can arise against impossible odds, even for the most undeserving person. Surely that's a kind of faith. Now, it's not very sophisticated, I know. And as I've grown in my own spiritual journey, I think I would probably translate that now into the saying, with God, all things are possible. So, I just invite you to think about what are the insights, events, experiences that inform, that strengthen you, that put you in touch with the source of good, and that help you to deal with your obstacles and turn the obstacles into opportunities. I know we do come from different backgrounds, different religious traditions, but I think we all commonly hope to reach, to experience a world of love and community. And that would be the purpose and the goal of our journey. So thank you for allowing me this time to share with you and for making me feel welcome. I'd invite you to continue to reflect on this stuff, to share with each other. We all know what's going on in our world right now. We certainly all need to continue to work to reach a place where everyone is welcomed and encouraged in their faith journey. So thank you very much.